For 2 whole years, a foster boy in America barely spoke a single word. Teachers thought he was shy, neighbors thought he was rude, and foster parents called him damaged. But the truth was much darker than anyone realized. He had been punished for speaking in the last home he lived in, and by the time he was moved again, silence had become the only thing that made him feel safe. When his new school forced every student to perform in front of the entire town, everyone expected him to fail. Instead, what happened on that stage made an entire auditorium cry because the boy who never spoke had been carrying a pain no one was ready to hear. In the small town of Springfield, Missouri, everybody knew everybody. If someone got a new car, the neighbors noticed. If a dog went missing, the whole block joined the search. And if a new foster child showed up at Maple Ridge Middle School in the middle of October, the rumors spread before lunchtime. That was exactly what happened when 12-year-old Noah Walker walked into the 7th grade hallway with a worn-out backpack, untied shoes, and his eyes fixed on the floor like he was trying not to exist. He was thin, pale, and quiet in a way that made other kids uncomfortable. Not normal quiet, not shy quiet. It was the kind of silence that felt practiced, like he had spent years learning how to make himself smaller. During attendance, when Mrs. Carter called his name, he didn't answer, he just raised his hand. At lunch, he sat alone at the edge of the cafeteria, eating slowly, barely looking up. During group work, he nodded when teachers asked if he understood, but never volunteered a single sentence. Within days, the students began whispering. Some said he couldn't talk. Some said he had anger issues. Some said he had been kicked out of multiple foster homes because he was dangerous. But none of them knew the truth. Noah could talk. He had just learned that talking could be punished. Before Springfield, Noah had lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the home of a foster couple named Rick and Denise Halpern. On paper, they looked perfect. Stable income, clean house, church every Sunday, great reports from previous inspections. But behind closed doors, their home was built on fear. Rick hated noise. He hated laughter that was too loud, footsteps that were too heavy, questions at the wrong time, and emotions that interrupted his peace. The first week Noah lived there, he made the mistake of asking a simple question at dinner. "Can I have more water?" Rick slowly put down his fork, stood up, and slammed his hand on the table so hard the silverware jumped. "In this house," he said in a cold voice Noah would never forget, "you speak when you are spoken to." From that night on, the rules became clear. No talking during meals, no talking after 7, no asking for snacks, no crying loud enough to be heard, no saying, "I'm scared," no saying, "I had a nightmare," no saying, "I miss my mom." If Noah forgot, Rick punished him. Sometimes it was standing in the corner for hours. Sometimes it was taking away his blanket. Sometimes it was locking up his books. Sometimes it was forcing him to write the same sentence over and over on notebook paper until his hand cramped. Silence keeps peace. By the time Child Services finally removed him after a neighbor reported shouting late at night, Noah had already learned the lesson too well. If he stayed quiet, adults stayed calmer. If he stayed quiet, he survived. His next placement brought him to Springfield, Missouri, to the home of Angela Brooks, a 41-year-old emergency room nurse who lived alone in a small 2-story white house with peeling white paint, a front porch swing, and a giant orange cat named Milo. Angela had been fostering for years, and unlike many people who opened their homes to children, she didn't expect them to arrive smiling, grateful, and easy. She understood that hurt children often came in carrying storms no one else could see. When Noah first stepped onto her porch, duffel bag in one hand and his shoulders tense like he was bracing for impact, Angela crouched to his level and smiled gently. "Hi, Noah. I'm Angela. You don't have to talk today if you don't want to." Noah blinked. Most adults expected answers right away. They wanted eye contact. thank yous, smiles, and polite little conversations. Angela simply stood up, opened the door, and said, "There's chili on the stove, clean towels in the bathroom, and Milo bites people he doesn't respect." For the first time in weeks, Noah almost smiled. Almost. His room was small but warm, with blue walls, a soft blanket printed with tiny mountains, a lamp beside the bed, and a handwritten note taped to the mirror that said, "You are safe here, even on your bad days." Noah stared at that note for a long time. Then he looked at the door, then back at the note, as if trying to decide if it was a trick. He didn't believe it. Not yet. At school, most teachers tried to be kind, but one teacher refused to let Noah disappear. Her name was Emily Carter, the music teacher, and she was the kind of person who decorated her classroom with fairy lights, painted inspirational quotes on the walls, and genuinely believed every child had a voice, even if they had forgotten how to use it. She noticed things other people missed. She noticed that Noah sat closest to the door in every class, that he flinched when students clapped too loudly, and that during choir warm-ups he mouthed the words without making a sound. She tried gentle questions. "Do you like music?" No response. "Do you play anything?" A shrug. "Would you help pass out folders?" A small nod. It wasn't much, but it was something. Then one afternoon, everything changed. Mrs. Carter had stayed late grading papers in the office beside the music room when she heard something that made her stop walking. Someone was playing the old upright piano in the corner, not randomly, not clumsily. It was a real melody, soft and beautiful, careful and sad in a way that made her chest tighten. She peeked around the doorway and saw Noah sitting at the bench, shoulders tense, fingers moving across the keys with a level of control no beginner had. When she noticed him, he jerked his hands away like he'd been caught doing something wrong. "Was that you?" she whispered. Noah stood up so fast the bench scraped the floor. "Noah, that was incredible." He shook his head, backed away, and left the room without a word. But Mrs. Carter knew one thing for certain. The silent foster boy had a gift, and he was hiding it from the world. Every December, Springfield held its annual Winter Arts Night, and it was more than just a school event. It was a town tradition. Parents, grandparents, business owners, church members, teachers, and neighbors all packed the middle school auditorium for choir songs, student art, talent acts, and short performances. This year, Principal Dowson made a new rule. Every 7th grader had to participate in at least one performance. When the announcement came over the loudspeaker, the classroom buzzed with excitement and complaints. Some kids groaned, some cheered, and some immediately started planning their acts. Noah went completely still. Mrs. Carter saw it immediately. After class, she caught him in the hallway. "Noah," she said softly, "you don't have to sing. There are other ways to participate. Backstage, lighting, set help, or piano." His jaw tightened. No. It was the first full word he had spoken to her, barely audible, but it landed like thunder. She didn't cush, not yet, but she knew that somewhere inside his silence, fear and talent were tangled together. That same week, Angela woke up in the middle of the night to a sound from upstairs, a muffled cry, then a heavy thud. She ran to Noah's room and found him on the floor beside the bed, tangled in his blanket, breathing hard, eyes open but not fully awake. "Noah, hey, it's okay," she said, stepping closer. He flinched so violently that he hit the wall trying to get away. "No talking," he shouted suddenly. "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Angela froze. In that moment, everything clicked. This wasn't just shyness, this was fear conditioning. This was what happened when a child had been trained to believe his own voice was dangerous. She sat down on the floor several feet away, keeping her voice calm and steady. "No one is mad at you," she said. He was shaking so hard he could barely breathe. "You're in Springfield. You're in my house. You're safe." She stayed there until his breathing slowed, not touching him, not crowding him, just staying. The next morning she made pancakes shaped like terrible circles and didn't mention the nightmare until he was ready. Instead, she slid a sticky note next to his plate. It read, "You are allowed to make noise in this house." Noah stared at it for a long time. Then slowly he folded it and slipped it into his pocket like something precious. A few days later, Mrs. Carter found him alone in the music room again. This time, she didn't interrupt. She simply sat in the back and listened while he played. When he finished, she said, "I can help you if you want." Noah stared at the keys. "I don't perform." "Okay," she said. Then after a pause, she added, "But I think music might be the one place your fear tells the truth by accident." He looked up confused. She smiled gently. "People don't hide from things they're bad at, they hide from things that matter." He didn't answer, but the next day he came back, and the day after that, soon they had a routine. 15 minutes after school, door closed, just piano, no audience, no pressure. She taught